Our next session, using technology to scale a climate solution with an important dual mission, helping to end hunger and while reducing methane emissions. Please welcome Elizabeth Bagley, Managing Director, Project Drawdown, and Joe Robbins, Chief Product Officer, Food Rescue US.
Good morning. I'm so thrilled to be with Joe today, and we're going to be learning a lot about rescuing food. So Joe, when you hear that nearly 40% of the US food supply is wasted, and 40 million Americans are food insecure, what goes through your mind?
So it's staggering, obviously, and I think for me the question it begs, I'd imagine most people who hear that, what's preventing all of that food to getting to those people who need it? And the reality is it's just a logistics issue. So there's tens of thousands of organizations all across the country that receive surplus food and get it to people who need it. But the scaling model for those companies is typically you buy a box truck, you have to hire a CDL driver. If you want to recover fresh food, you need a refrigerated truck. And these organizations are often have tiny budgets. They're grant funded, and so that can make it really hard to take on a long-term recurring cost like that. And so that's really the problem that we solve. We operate decentralized volunteer networks all across the country, and these volunteers drive their personal vehicles to food businesses like restaurants or grocery stores, and they pick up food and drop it directly to receiving agencies in that community. So that's a really efficient model. For every dollar that we spend, we're able to deliver about 20 meals to those in need. So I would challenge you to take $1 to a grocery store here in New York and see what you come away with. So it's very impressive, and we're excited to bring it to more communities across the country.
I love that. Every dollar spent, 20 meals.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. So I'd love to know more about the origin of Food Rescue US and how it's evolved, especially given food prices and all of the demand that we're seeing across the country.
Yeah, so we were founded in 2011, actually in Fairfield, Connecticut. And at first it was just a group of people who were volunteering at food pantries, and they realized that there was a lot of food that was available in the community that these food pantries couldn't access. And so they actually, on their own, started taking their personal vehicles to these places, picking the food up and bringing it to the receiving agencies. And this scaled. They got more and more people involved. They got more and more partners. Somewhere along the way, they realized they needed a software application to just manage all of the logistics. And that's really when they realized, okay, we've got something here. This model isn't just something that's going to work in Fairfield County. This is something it's going to travel and work elsewhere. So fast forward to today, we have 49 recovery operations in 26 different states across the country. Last year, we did 132,000 of these pickups, wow, and we recovered 37 million pounds of food, which is incredibly impactful in terms of food insecurity, but food waste in landfills also generates a significant portion of greenhouse gas emissions. And our work just last year was able to offset almost over 100,000 tons of CO2 equivalent emissions. So it's really exciting, both in terms of food insecurity and the environment.
I love that double win, and being at Project Drawdown, and you'll see some lovely, inspiring photos of people, as well as some technical tools in the background. And with the Drawdown Explorer, we really lean into looking at climate solutions. One huge solution that's accessible to most people is actually reducing food loss and waste. So, almost anybody can do it. Almost anybody can help with this kind of work. Check out all of these lovely people in the background photos. So how do you inspire people to get involved with organizations like Food Rescue US?
Yeah, that's a great question. And having a software background, understanding your users and what motivates them and their incentive structures is so important. So when I started with Food Rescue US, I had to learn, what motivates volunteers. I've had previous jobs where I had a hard time motivating people to use the app the way it was supposed to be used, and it was their job. So for people who are volunteering their time for us, how does that work? And what's so fascinating is inspiration isn't really the issue. I think that the sustainability community has done such a good job of making sure people understand the climate circumstances and the threat that we're facing. And so I think that because that community has had to fight so long and so hard just to convince us that there is a problem, that the situation is urgent, that in some senses we've almost overshot. I think it maybe makes us worry that our individual action can't make a difference. And I live in Seattle, and when I go to a coffee shop, they always ask you if you want the paper straw or the plastic straw. And in my mind, it's tempting to think, okay, halfway through this cup of coffee, the paper straw might be getting on my nerves a little bit. And the climate problem is so big and so vast. What impact is this decision about straws really going to make? And I think the antidote to that is letting people experience what it's like to actually make a difference themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been able to give over 30,000 people that experience, which is really exciting.
I also just love the level of community connection that an organization like Food Rescue US provides, right? Like people are in their community, helping their community members, and they're working on a climate solution. So I love that idea. And I love the focus on people, right? And so I'm so curious about any stories you might have that really illustrate the human impact of food recovery.
Yeah, that's a great thing about this work is I have almost too many to recount, but one of my favorites is the story of our South Florida site. So in 2018, we didn't have a South Florida site, and we got an email from a woman named Ellen Bowen, who was a retired executive in the fashion industry, and she was just asking us if we had any volunteer opportunities in South Florida. And we didn't at the time, but we told her, we have this model, we have this tool, if you're interested in working with us, we could help you set up a site in your community. And so we ran her through the training, we taught her how to pitch to food donors and how to recruit volunteers. And so she started out, and at first it was just her friends and her community. And 2 years later, she sent us another email and said, hey, I was speaking with a chef at an event, and I was telling her about what we do. She was interested in sustainability. And it turns out that she's the executive chef for the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. And she's also the top decision maker for all concessions at Super Bowl 54.
Wow.
And she'd like to know if we would rescue food from Super Bowl 54. And it was a total role reversal. We were like, well, we'd love to, but how are we going to do this? And she said, don't worry about it. I've got hundreds of volunteers who are excited to show up. I've talked to my agencies. They're going to keep space available and stay open late so we can do the pickups. I just wanted to make sure it was all right with you guys. We were like, yes, that is all right. And I checked this morning, and as of today, Ellen's site has recovered over 15 million pounds of food.
15 million pounds of food.
Yeah.
And bringing the Super Bowl into it. Way to go,
Amazing.
Ellen. Way to go, Ellen. Shout out to Ellen.
Yeah.
How did Food Rescue US make that possible? Like that from someone saying, hey, I'd like to volunteer, which encourage everybody to find a way to volunteer in their communities, but how did that happen?
Yeah. So the responsible answer here, given the platform, is to talk about the model and how well it scales and how easy it is and how great of a tool the app is. But really it was Ellen. She looked around in her community and she saw problems and she said, what can I do about these problems? And of course the organization shared our experience and our model with her, and the app is very functional and makes the logistics component of that work much simpler for a user. But really that's what it took. None of that would have mattered if it wasn't for her raising her hand and sending us that email.
I get really excited when people stand up and take action and find ways to work on climate change in ways that resonate with them. I think your organization is creating tools. Our organization has the new Drawdown Explorer. We also have Shift for individual climate action, which is jointheshift.earth. But those tools don't mean anything without people, right? And so thank you, Ellen, for being that person. But I'd love to hear more about that tool that's enabling that action. So could you walk us through the app a little bit?
Oh, I would love to, and I'll keep it brief because it is my baby. But so we have a logistics platform, and it has a platform for all of the user groups that I've mentioned so far. So the receiving agencies, the food donors, the volunteers, and our site organizers. And so the food donors can use the app to log a food donation, and the site staff sees that donation, and then they match it to a receiving agency based on what that receiving agency prefers as far as types of food, how much capacity they have. A lot of details go into that. I won't bore you with them. And then once that route has been created, they can either assign it to a volunteer driver or they can post it to our marketplace where the volunteers can say, I've got time this Saturday, I can do this one, and so they can claim it themselves. And it does a lot more than that, and it provides metrics to all of those users about their end of that supply chain. But it's really exciting, and we release new features every 30 days. So it's an intense process, but we love it, and I think that shows up for our network.
And where can people find the app?
Foodrescue.us.
Okay, foodrescue.us, check out the app. And there's all sorts of roles you can play, right? You could be a driver, you could be
Yep.
the person who's receiving or the person who's donating. So there's so many ways that we can show up and really work on this incredible climate solution, right? And work with reducing food waste as well as feeding hungry people.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. So I'm curious about what solutions you're putting into place to make food rescue easier in communities all around the US. I mean, that scaling is a big challenge.
Yeah, and really our biggest bottleneck to scaling is food donor recruitment. We have almost no trouble recruiting volunteers, and the receiving agencies always need food, unfortunately, now more than ever. And the food donors, they have businesses that they're running. Food businesses often operate really tight margins, really tight timelines, and so asking them to do something additional to what they're already doing is often a tough ask. So my team often meets with professionals in this industry, and we do discovery sessions to try to learn, how do we make this easier for you? And I was in one of these discovery sessions about 1.5 years ago with a very gruff operations manager for a warehouse, for a large grocery store. And I was asking him questions, obviously designed to see what can I do to get you to use the app. And he said to me, Joe, I don't care how cool the app is. I already have to walk the store and scan out anything I'm donating into our system, and I'm not going to do that twice. And that's why we appreciate direct feedback in the discovery process, because that was a real light bulb moment for us. And I went back and talked to the team, and I asked my lead developer, I said, is there a way we can just integrate directly with the inventory management systems and just have those communicate with our system? And he gave me the classic developer answer, which is, it's possible, but it's going to be expensive and it's going to be a headache. And if you don't speak developer, that means great idea. I love it when you come up with great ideas. When can we get started? So we got started right away, and we built prototypes. We did more discovery, and we ended up receiving the Refed's Catalytic Grant Award, which Refed's a great organization. They're here. And that funded us to actually build this program. So we have it live now. We're actually pilot testing it with a point of sale company with live donations, live donors. Very stressful, but it's going well so far. And just to give you an idea of how impactful that can be, when we get through with our beta and we go live with this donor, there will be almost 70,000 food businesses across the country that can sign up for food recovery with 2 clicks from their existing on-site point of sale software. And then they can create a donation for pickup just by logging a transaction, which they do that all day long. So we've really eliminated all the excuses. We made it really easy to partner with us.
Wow, I love thinking about what are the barriers to entry? How can we come up with elegant solutions to make sure that they're not barriers and to make the activation process so much easier?
Yeah.
Way to go.
Thank you.
And great developer. I'm glad the developer is happy to try new things.
I made fun of them a little bit. They're a great team, and I would not be up here without them.
That's amazing. Yeah, we definitely have, with the Drawdown Explorer, have given our developers some interesting challenges.
Yes. But the results are where you get your best ideas.
I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And why not leverage the incredible technology that we have to move us all forward without having to worry about all of the logistics? We can just package it all in.
That's one of the great things about our model too, is we have sort of an ad hoc experimental system, because we have all these sites and all these very different food landscapes. We're able to get feedback from Randy in Albuquerque and Kate in DC, and someone wants to rescue from school cafeterias, someone wants to rescue on a bicycle. And so we get all this information constantly, and it's trying for my team at times to try to make sense of it all and come up with features, but it allows us to stay ahead of the curve in what's needed in this space.
How big is the team at Food Rescue US?
Yeah, so my team is 5 people, and the national team, we have 12 full-time staff, and then we have 49 site directors and staff, and we manage 132,000 pickups a year.
Well done. That is so inspiring. I love it. So what's next? You've got so much on the horizon. Where's Food Rescue US going now?
Yeah. So this will be the obligatory once per panel talk about AI. So if you were worried we were going to skip that, your worries are about to be alleviated. Our philosophy on the product team is we want to build a great tool, and we want that tool to be a beautiful experience for the user. But we want that tool to fade into the background of this much more important experience of volunteering. And we've known for a while that AI has a lot of opportunity for us in that way. We've been doing research and evaluating different tools. A lot of the tools we've been evaluating are software as a service tools. So someone's developed a model, you pay for it monthly, and then you train it on kind of what you need to do. And we quickly found that those tools are not yet priced for nonprofits. They're firmly out of our price range. But we also learned that in order to retain the identity of the app and of the organization, really build what we needed, we were gonna have to learn how to do that ourselves. And so we, 8 months ago, partnered with Dr. Stanley Lim, who's a supply chain logistics professor at Michigan State University, in addition to being a wonderful person. And he's been helping us to develop a machine learning algorithm to predict rescuer substitution requests. So this is something that comes up a lot. We have volunteers who have something come up at the last minute, and so we need to find a substitute. And this can often end up with the site staff stopping their day, going out and handling this, because we don't want to lose a donor. We want to make sure we're delivering for our food donors. And so that can be really disruptive. And we right now have a machine learning model that will predict rescuer substitution requests at 94% accuracy.
Wow.
And also suggest volunteers to be substitutes based on their rescue history and their information. And so that's really exciting. Right now, that 94% is on our historical training data sets, but we're actually putting a pilot together right now that will run next month, hopefully. And that's a small step on a much longer journey for us, but it's a small step that involves myself and my team getting the experience and the knowledge we need to write good proposals for this, to get bigger funding for this. So it's going to be a big focus for us for the next several years.
Thanks for using AI for good, right? And for the folks who work in the AI space, I think having opportunities for nonprofits to pilot and test things like this is just such an incredible opportunity to be a climate solution and to really move important work forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And the prerequisite to AI is good data, clean data, and holistic data. So you have to have data sets that aren't just used to make the app functional, but also to give you a clear picture of why decisions are being made, what scenarios are affecting this decision-making process. And so that was really the first kind of 2 years of this experience for us, was getting our data cleaned up, getting it stored properly, adding data capture for areas of the operational model that we don't have good information on. And so now we're at a place where we can start picking specific problems like this, modeling them ourselves, and putting out solutions, which is really exciting.
That is so exciting. So you've got the app, you have the AI work in development to really start to exponentially increase and match folks with the right volunteer role. I want to talk a little bit about a call to action for the folks who are here and who are interested in this. I can do a bit of Project Drawdown promotion around. We actually just launched our newest individual action platform called jointheshift.earth, which really focuses on the most impactful climate actions that individuals can take. I think we both know that both systemic and individual action is so important in order for us to stop climate change. So jointheshift.earth, 23 actions. It's not the 101 things to do to save the earth. It's really the most impactful actions that we know lead to stopping climate change. One of them, spoiler alert, that I know Ryan Geffert from Patagonia mentioned, is a huge role is being a citizen, right? So all of us, how can we show up every day and take a step towards stopping climate change in our lives? So Food Rescue US makes it so easy. Tell me more about what you'd like people to do. What's the next step you'd like them to take as they think about their role in food waste recovery?
Yeah, I think the most impactful thing you can do as an individual is to not let the problems you can't fix distract you from the ones that you can. I think that's really important. And I think we've seen in our work, we've been blown away by the cumulative effect of those individual actions. I think one of my favorite things about conferences like this is coming and seeing smart people talk about big ideas that are new. And it's easy to kind of get taken by the silver bullet solution, right? The policy change or the technical innovation that's going to totally fix everything. We don't have to worry about it anymore. And really that doesn't exist, unfortunately. The only thing that's going to be able to get us out of the situation we've created ourselves is collective action on a scale that's maybe unprecedented. And that's okay, because that starts with individual people looking around at their community and seeing what they can do. And luckily for us, our business is making that really easy for you.
I love that. I love the idea of, collective community-based action, especially as there's, lots of shifting sands in our world today. Like, look at our community. What does our community need?
Yeah.
Using tools like the Food Rescue US app in order to find how you want to show up.
Yeah.
And to keep taking steps, right? Like, maybe you try something and you don't love it. Full disclosure, I don't love being on a sustainability commission and following Robert's Rules of Order. Not really my jam, but I do it for now. But what are the ways that you want to show up in your community and make a difference? And I think one other plug I'll make is for people to learn about all sorts of climate solutions, right? So food loss and waste is an enormous solution when it comes to a win-win, right? For feeding food insecure people, as well as reducing food waste. With the Drawdown Explorer, we have over 70 solutions today. We'll be expanding closer to 200 over the next year. Maybe food waste isn't your jam. I think most people it is actually, but maybe there's something else that you're interested in. So would really encourage people to geek out with the Drawdown Explorer and check out all the different solutions the science-based solutions that we've looked at.
Yeah.
Because there's lots of opportunity.
Yeah. And the experience is so important. I think we hear about the problems, we worry about the problems, but experiencing what it feels like to make an impact yourself with your individual action is so important. And I think, with the app, we do all these cool things to sort of reinforce that experience. We show people their CO2 offset for that trip. And we have badges that get awarded with little confetti animations. They're very fun. But all of that pales in comparison to going to a chef and having him hand you food that he cooked, he prepared, and he would have had to throw that away if he wasn't able to hand it to you. And then dropping that food off to someone who runs a homeless shelter with no budget. And because of that food you're giving them, they may not have to turn anyone away that night. It's like that experience is something that sticks with people beyond when they finish volunteering with us. It sticks with them when they go to work and they make decisions at work. It sticks with them when they go to vote. And I think that I can throw a lot of impact numbers and metrics at you, but that experience, giving 30,000 people that, I think that's something that can't be measured and is maybe the most important thing that we do.
I love it. My heart expanded 3 more sizes just thinking about all of those incredible connections. And people talk about food is love, right?
Yeah.
We think about from the seed all the way to the plate, and all of the people in our communities around the world who put their love into that food, and let's not waste it, right? And let's hand it off to other people who we want to care for, and really continue to nourish both people on the planet.
Yeah. The personal connection we as humans have with food is impossible to understate. And I think we see that all the time with our donors. I was on a discovery session with a group of our volunteers, and there was a woman who was volunteering who was maybe 85 years old. And I was trying to be polite, but I wanted to ask her if she ever had issues, lifting the boxes and things like that. It's fairly physical work. And so I kind of got around to it, and she sort of laughed at me and she said, "Oh no, the boys at the warehouse load it for me." And I laughed because we had to really work to get that warehouse manager to agree to donate to us. And our pitch was, we're gonna make it so easy for you. We're not gonna disrupt operations. You won't even know we're there. And as soon as they got involved, they're loading the ladies' boxes they're excited to see that the fruits of their labor literally are not being thrown away. They're going to people who need it. And that is something that's so motivating and so inspirational. And that's what we love to do.
I'm going to have that picture of that beautiful collaboration carrying with me all day. Joe, thank you so much for your leadership with Food Rescue US. Would encourage everybody to check it out, to find ways that you can step up and show up in your community to really move climate solutions forward. Thanks so much, Joe.
Thank you.
Thanks.